You're listening to Four Things to Know, a WCCO daily news podcast.
Today is Thursday, January 15th. I'm Maria Lazagnoli.
And I'm Johnny Connor. Thanks for listening to Four Things to Know.
Our top story today. Exactly 1 week after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis, another ICE agent shot someone else in the city. Homeland Security says a federal law enforcement officer shot a Venezuela migrant just before 7 o'clock last night near 24th and Lyndale Avenues North. The man was shot in the leg and taken to a hospital. According to authorities, the ICE agent also went to a hospital after being attacked with a shovel and a broom handle. Officials say a man from Venezuela was the target of last night's operation. It started on I-94, and the man drove to a home in North Minneapolis where a crash happened. Authorities say the man assaulted an ICE officer, and DHS says 2 other people came out and attacked the officer with a shovel and broom. That's when the ICE officer shot the man in the leg. Smoke filled the air late last night as agents descended onto the crowd of protesters. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said protesters crossed the line last night, saying mutual aid from State Patrol and Hennepin County Sheriff needed to be called in. The chief said the crowd threw fireworks at officers and gas had to be deployed multiple times.
This is already a very tense situation, and we do not need this to escalate any further. I have faith that the investigators are involved will follow every lead in this case and ensure it is completed to its logical conclusion.
Mayor Jacob Frey also addressed last night's shooting, as well as his concerns for the future as ICE operations continue.
There's still a lot that we don't know at this time, but what I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. And at the same time, we are trying to find a way forward to keep people safe, to protect our neighbors, to maintain order.
Today, in a social media post, President Donald Trump threatened to use the Insurrection Act in Minnesota. That would allow him to deploy troops here. In a Truth Social post, the president said in part, quote, "If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act," end quote. The governor's office told WCCO that Governor Walz is trying to get a hold of the president, all in an effort to appeal to federal administrators to, quote, "reverse course and turn down the temperature." The Minnesota BCA posted on X confirming they are investigating this use of force incident and that it will be an independent BCA investigation.
And that brings us to number 2. Frankie McClister was at the scene of that shooting today. Here's his report.
We've seen the BCA out here kind of in and out all morning long. We overheard them say that they were retrieving a laptop. We're unsure who kind of reported that laptop to them and why and where it was located. Our Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said that the agent hurt is, quote, beat up and bruised, and that the suspects, quote, weaponized shovels and brooms. Nobody seems to be at the home this morning. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the neighborhood's been quite quiet this morning. We have noticed a whole group of volunteers. They have vests. They've been out here all morning long. And what they've been telling me that they are doing is cleaning up a lot of the litter that was caused by the protesting out here and other things that the agents were deploying whenever the protesters were out here.
Number 3. The ACLU of Minnesota announced a new class action lawsuit against the federal government today. This lawsuit is related to what the ACLU calls ICE and CBP's suspicionless stops, warrantless arrests, and racial profiling of Minnesotans. Now, this was not related to last night's shooting by an ICE agent. Regarding the ICE activity in Minnesota, they call their actions unconstitutional. Today's lawsuit is on behalf of 3 people, and those in similar circumstances, people who were unlawfully stopped or detained by federal agents. Here's more from attorney Catherine Allen Halverson.
He has repeatedly suggested that they are picking up Somali and Latino criminals, when in reality they are harassing, stopping, and detaining hard-working Minnesotans in their neighborhoods.
During the press conference today, stories of those U.S. citizens who were unlawfully stopped and detained were told.
Number 4, New legislation was just announced as a result of ICE activity in Minnesota.
I am proposing is a bill that would allow for Minnesotans to have a civil right of action against federal agents to uphold their constitutional rights.
DFL Representative Jamie Long says he wants people to have a way to sue when federal officials violate their civil rights. This could be for damage caused to a car or for being arrested without due process. He plans to introduce the Minnesota Universal Constitutional Remedies Act during the legislative session next month.
It wouldn't stop what is happening now, but we've seen so much harm in our communities, and it often feels hopeless to folks. It feels like they're being told from the federal government this is for retribution. They're being told there is no accountability for the actions that you're taking as ICE officers, that they have absolute immunity. And so what we're trying to do is say, no, there is accountability. There is the ability, at least, for individual citizens to seek redress for their own harms and to try to have the federal government make them whole.
He says 5 states already have similar laws on the books, with pending legislation in Wisconsin and New York. The session here begins on February 17th. Those are the 4 things to know today. Now let's check in on our forecast.
Happy Thursday, guys. Thanks for the meteorologist Adam Del Rosso checking in. We've got a Clipper system that's going to be dropping southward across the state as we head into this evening and tonight. That is going to lead to some spotty off and on snow showers here that will be fairly light, maybe an inch of accumulation by the time all is said and done Friday night. So it's not going to be a whole bunch, but what that Clipper is going to do is also bring in some much colder air. Temperatures peak in the low 30s, right around freezing this evening, and they'll be falling all day long tomorrow. So we'll have a high temperature right around 30 tomorrow, but temperatures will be falling into the teens and eventually the single digits by the time you're waking up Saturday morning. And with a gusty northwest wind, wind chills are going to be about 10 to 15 below zero by the time you wake up Saturday morning.
And now, here's more to know.
Reports of ICE agents entering Minnesota hospitals and detaining patients are causing concern among lawmakers. In the wake of this federal activity, a group of state lawmakers released a statement saying, in part, quote, "It is illegal for ICE to enter private buildings and residences without a judicial warrant, and it is absolutely unconscionable to deliberately put patients' health at risk. This lawlessness and vigilantism must end now." They went on to say any ICE presence in healthcare settings endangers everyone. Legislators such as Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy and Representative Aisha Gomez are among those who signed on.
Earlier this morning, members of the NAACP spoke out against recent ICE activity and its impact on Minnesota's communities. Today's press conference included messages from faith leaders and community partners. They called for accountability, transparency, and respect for civil and human rights amid the growing ICE activity. Despite the tragedy, speakers like Pastor Richard Pittman Sr. pleaded for peaceful protests.
Our neighborhoods are not war zones. Amen. Our schools are not targets. Our young people are not criminals. To the people of Minnesota, we call you to remain united. This is not a moment of blame, division, or finger pointing. This is a collective state issue that impacts all of us, urban and rural, immigrants and native-born, black, brown, white, and indigenous. No community asked for this harm. No family wanted this pain. We must stand together as one Minnesota.
St. Paul Mayor Kali Herr also spoke at today's press conference. She called for Minnesotans to look inward and to listen to their elders. The mayor also called for turning pain and anxiety into love and standing together to help each other.
In a rare primetime address, Governor Walz outlined what Minnesotans can do as the ICE presence grows in the state. Governor Walz started by saying President Trump wants chaos and confusion. Walz claims the president wants to see violence in our streets. The governor pleaded for protesters to stay peaceful. Second, Governor Walz called on Minnesotans to always have their phones readily available to record ICE interactions. Third, he told Minnesotans accountability is coming and to remember this will not last forever. The fourth point made by the governor was that Minnesota looks out for its citizens, calling the state an island of decency.
Happening today, members of the Minneapolis City Council will demand Governor Walz implement an eviction moratorium as the immigrant crackdown continues. Several council members are gathering together this afternoon to share details of the proposal that they're calling the, quote, Evict ICE, Not Us campaign. According to the council members, for many Minnesotans, going to work to earn money for rent is not a safe option with federal agents in the streets. Now they're calling for an eviction moratorium as many vulnerable families face eviction as soon as February 1st.
At Moth Oddities, that's a vintage shop in Northeast Minneapolis, donations are pouring in amid the increased ICE operations. Volunteers have been sorting through hundreds of donated items, all for families who are just afraid to leave their homes due to the ICE activity. Donations include food, household items, and supplies for children. Gavin Geronimi is a volunteer who says it's one way he feels like he can help his community right now.
I'm obviously really angry about what's been going on in the city, and I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and I wanted to channel, all the energy and the feelings I have about it into something positive.
Out of an abundance of caution, they won't be delivering the supplies directly to families. The store is working with local schools, churches, and agencies to get the donations to where they're needed.
Let's get to sports headlines. There's not a ton going on tonight. The Wild are back in action, though. The Winnipeg Jets are in town. Now, the Wild did beat them in overtime the last time these two teams played, Maria.
Nice.
7 o'clock puck drop tonight. Let's go Wild. T-Wolves are off tonight, but they're back tomorrow.
It's time to take a breath with your Daily Bright Spot.
This is a wild story. A Minnesota man is now safe after being lost in the woods for more than 10 hours. According to officials, the Minnesota Air Rescue Team was called back on January 3rd, and they were called in to help a hunter lost in the woods. Now, this was up in rural Mille Lacs County. So they used night vision and thermal imaging, and a state patrol helicopter located him within minutes.
Thermal imaging for the rescue. I mean,
Right?
That is some cool tech.
It really is. And the fact that he was lost for 10 hours and they could find him within minutes, it's life-saving stuff there. But that would be terrifying.
Well, and I feel like a lot of times this can happen in the boundary waters too,
Sure,
in the summer. So thermal imaging to find like some trapped campers or whatever due to a storm, that I'm sure they've tried to use it before, but I haven't heard about it.
Probably easier in the winter since everything else is so cold. But yeah, I bet it would be just such a useful tool in those rural areas.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm glad he's safe. I mean, the crews made contact with him, got him out. The Minnesota Air Rescue Team is made up of state patrol pilots, the St. Paul Fire Department even. They have a rescue personnel team that's a part of this air rescue team.
Wild story.
Well, thank you so much for listening to 4 Things to Know. With Johnny Connor, I'm Maria Lizignoli. We're here with the news you need every weekday afternoon by 3 o'clock.
Listen to 4 Things to Know, a WCCO daily news podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.